Hey guys, welcome back. Today I am going to be talking about aliens, and I am super excited to finally be talking about something that I am so passionate about. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So there's a lot of different types of aliens out there, like way too many for me to do a short video on. So today we're just going to talk about the three main types of aliens, which these are just the ones that people encounter the most and that have more of a description to them. Like, people have seen them enough that they kind of have more characteristics and stuff behind them. Alright, so our first alien, by the way, this is Cristo. He's my kitty. So our first alien group that we're going to discuss today is the Greys. Now, the Greys are the most infamous type of alien because these are the ones that do most of the abductions. So basically this group of aliens was cloned by the reptilians, and we'll get into those later. But this group of aliens has a more maniacal purpose behind them. They're a lot more sinister, and these are usually the ones that abduct people because they want to do tests on us because they want to try and control us the way that the reptilians once controlled them. So the Greys were cloned by the reptilians as a sort of slave race, and the reptilians themselves were actually very evil aliens. So these guys got a lot of their evil tendencies, and that's why they're a little more sinister. So these are the aliens that we hear most about, and the ones that we see on like t-shirts and Tumblr and all kinds of stuff like that. These are the ones with the big head and the oval shaped eyes that are all black. Like, these are the basic alien that you see everywhere. And the reason you see these guys everywhere is because these are the ones that we see the most of, because they're the ones that do more abductions than any other type of alien. They're the ones that like to probe and do all the like reproductive tests and stuff like that, so they're a little more like out and about. So this race of alien is actually a dying race because they were cloned by the reptilians, and since they haven't been able to perfect the reptilians' cloning abilities, they are trying to now breed with humans so that they can start a race of their own without having to clone or anything like that. So that's where you get the nice little like probing things and stuff like that going on. They're just trying to breed a new civilization, so good for them, I guess. So the Greys are inherently evil, and they're the ones that want to bring like war and evil and all kinds of stuff here, so they're constantly trying to create conflict between us and all different kinds of stuff like that. So Greys are what people actually think arrived at the Roswell crash whenever that happened. They believe that it was some gray aliens that had come down and were taken to Area 51 to do tests on and stuff like that. So the Greys speak through telepathy, which is speaking like through their minds and stuff like that. In different abduction cases, they have been noted as having like a mouth wrinkle, but it's not really a mouth. Like, it doesn't open like a mouth, but they have a wrinkle there to kind of simulate one, so that whenever they abduct humans, the humans aren't so freaked out by like, oh my god, why don't they have a mouth, even though they don't have a nose or ears really. So this is more of a like conspiracy part to do with the Greys, but people believe that the Grey aliens are actually working really close with the government because, so they basically have a deal with the government, a trade deal, and it's basically like they can abduct and do all kinds of tests and stuff on us, and in return the government can use some of their technology and use it to make more stuff for our military and things like that. So that's a huge reason why alien abductions are usually like swept under the rug a lot, is because they're working so close with the government, and the government doesn't want a bunch of that stuff getting leaked, so they would rather just cover it up and not deal with it at all. So the next group of aliens that we have is called the reptilians. Now, I mentioned the reptilians before when we were talking about the Greys, because the reptilians are the ones that actually created the Greys and actually like cloned them and set up their whole civilization and all that stuff. Only 20% of abductees actually report seeing reptilians. They're not very into a lot of the abduction side of it. So there are two types of reptilians. One of the types is the reptoids, which are, they're humanoid in appearance, and they can blend in with our society a little bit better, which is kind of creepy. They're usually about 6 to 9 feet tall, so they're pretty freaking tall. They're very muscular, they have long arms, long legs, and they have 3 long fingers and 1 thumb on their hands. Their skin is dark green and brown, and it's very scaly, similar to like a lizard or a snake or something like that, hence the name reptilians. Sometimes these reptoids are reported as having tails, but that's not always the case. The reptoids have more of like a cone-shaped head, and they have slits for nose and slits for ears, and they have kind of like lizard snake-like eyes, and sometimes they're reported as having like flame-like pupils, which I think would be terrifying to see in real life. So the reptilians are basically the same, they're about the same like build and height and all that stuff, but these guys are reported as having wings that have a span of 6 to 7 feet, which is crazy, and they're made of bone and they're covered in like weird scaly stuff. Sometimes these reptilians are reported as having horns that go from the top of their head all the way down to like the bottom of their spine. Now, the cool thing about the reptilians is their description actually fits really well with a lot of ancient Chinese, Greek, and Indian gods. If you want to learn more about that, I'll put a link to the article where I found a lot of the stuff in the description, and you can kind of see like the comparison between a lot of the Chinese and Greek and all their gods. Like, it's kind of creepy. The reptilians actually feed on negative energy, and hence why the Greys are so inherently evil, is because they were cloned by these negative beings. So they want to create a lot of war and conflict here on Earth. So there are some people who believe that the reptilians are breeding with humans to create these like reptilian human crossbreed things, and they're actually reported to be able to shapeshift and turn into like normal looking humans where they don't have like the brown and green scaly skin and all that stuff. And there's actually a lot of conspiracy theories that there's a lot of government and celebrity personalities that are reptilians. So if you ever hear the government is reptiles, that's what they're talking about. Alright, so the last group of aliens that we're going to talk about today, and my personal favorite, are the Nords. Now, the Nords are basically, they look Nordic, hence the name, and they usually have blonde hair, and they're most commonly reported with blue eyes, but they can also have red, violet, green, all different colors of eyes. The Nords can actually easily pass as humans. Like, they are very similar to us from a distance. They're often very attractive to us whenever we see them because they're very muscular and toned and all that good stuff. They stand about 5 to 7 feet tall. The Nords communicate in the same way that the Greys do, in that they communicate with telepathy and telekinesis, and they're actually the more peaceful ones of this whole thing. So the Nords actually want to communicate peace and love and harmony and all that different stuff to us. They're reported as bringing very spiritual messages in that they want to create all these wonderful things for us. A lot of spiritual insight can actually be given to us by the Nords, which I think is fascinating. Personally, just gonna get on my little soapbox here, I believe that Nords are a lot of the reason why people have so many breakthroughs during psychedelic trips, because whenever you go on a psychedelic trip, you kind of get into this like higher state of mind, and I believe that whenever we're in that very susceptible state of mind, that the Nords kind of can communicate with us and give us these different thoughts on things, and I think that's super interesting. And I don't know, this is my favorite group of aliens. I don't know. I love Swedish people too, like the whole culture and everything, so these guys are just, it's amazing to me. Theorists actually believe that the whole New Age movement and all that different stuff that's going on right now was actually given to us by the Nords, that they kind of like implanted that little seed in our heads, and that's why this has become such a huge movement. Alright, so there you have it. There's the 3 main types of aliens. Of course, if you want to do your own research, there are so many different types. I could not even begin to fathom how many different types there are. But if you guys are interested, I will put the links to all the websites where I got this information from in the description, and you can kind of like check all this stuff out on your own. I think it's super interesting. Thank you guys so much for watching. I am going to be trying to upload every Thursday. You guys can be able to expect a new video from me every week. And whenever I get into more of a schedule of things with this Thursday deal, then I may be going to Thursdays and Mondays. It'll just depend on how things work out. But for now, expect me every Thursday. Alright, well, I'll see you guys next week in a brand new video, and I love you guys and I hope you're having a good day. Bye!